All right, going live.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to our live chat. We've got Mark Stross and Kim Kelly, and I'm Craig Sawyer. And we are going to share with you as much as we can with the time we have about cybersecurity, how to safeguard your children. And they're vulnerable in ways that a lot of people are unaware of. So we just want to take some time and empower everybody with the knowledge that we can contribute and share here. And we love the little ones, and we want everybody to understand the spirit in which we offer this contribution, and really just want to open up with prayer. So, everybody, if you would join us as we pray for the children and for this mission and for everybody that's standing up for the little ones. God Almighty, we give you thanks for this opportunity to all come together wherever anybody may be joining in one unified spirit and intent that is simply to safeguard the little ones, the most precious and innocent. That is something in these crazy times that I believe we can all agree upon. Can we just rally around the most precious and innocent and defenseless, the little children, and just discuss ways to safeguard them? And we ask you to bless this message, so that people understand the love that it's offered up in, that the information resonate, that people use it, and that great safety come to countless children through our efforts here. It's as simple as that. And in your name, God, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
So, welcome everybody. We uh, we want to kick this off. I think Mark really probably brings the most expertise on the cyber side. I want to let him just introduce himself, walk people through kind of what it is that he brings, and let's open up this discussion and share with people what all we can tonight. So, Mark, if you would, sir, you have the
What a
mic.
privilege. Thank you. Well, first of all, to the audience, what right do I have to be in front of you talking about cybersecurity? Well, I would ask that question. So, with that, I'm going to take you back a few years and explain what I do with my day job. I am one of the people that was one of the founding technologists in the LED profession, and I brought video boards to the United States. The first blue video board was lit up on my server and my technologies. And from there, I became the CTO of ANC, and we have done some pioneering work in the LED industry, including the 76ers, the Miami Heat, and the World Trade Center. And we've done projects that are just inspiring, all the way to the DC subway system, Penn Station, American icons. I'm an immigrant, came to this country, and I became a US citizen through proper channels, 15 years. I was an art student. I'll take you over here and it will follow me. Over here, you'll see, this is my, we'll get it. But anyway, over there, you'll see that I have an Art Center College of Design degree because I was supposed to go into the arts, and I thought I was. I thought I was going to be doing things like film, television shows, and 3D animation. In fact, I started shows on the Science Fiction Channel and other channels, and I did about 5 or 6 different shows from my garage. I was lucky to be with Todd Stevens, the line producer of Major Dad, and then he went on to Friends, and he was the wacky producer that was behind me, allowing me the opportunity to do these great, really fun guerrilla shows. Guerrilla meaning they were completely innovative because we were using consumer equipment, and we saved thousands on actually bringing a full television show all the way to distribution. It was awesome. From there, I created technologies to make my life easy out of laziness. And it was those technologies that actually became the precursor to what ANC is today. And what happened was one of my friends says, you should take one of these servers and plug it into an LED video board. But because they won't let you in, because they don't know who you are, we'll let you in for security because they work for one of the LED companies. We hooked up my technology in the morning. The president of the company came in and he saw his video boards looking better than he'd ever seen and automatically run. He was blown away. Got me my first gig. I created the first video board on a mobile device. And from there, other friends talked about me, and I got a job with Disney, lit up the wild world of sports stadium. I put in the first control server, and then I put in a controller in there for light sensitivity, so the board would adjust to light. No one had ever done that. That's when things get interesting. And then from there, friends saw what I was doing. They suggested me to ANC, who was doing banner ads in sports. I went and had an interview. I cockily told the founder, Jerry, that basically his business model was over in 7 years. The digital model was going to take over. And he hired me as a consultant. I had no idea I was going to become CTO. And we built it into a 100 million company. And I'm very proud of that. Now, I never thought, though, that my day job would go from putting up pretty pictures, and this is really the essence of why I'm here, on a video board, to having to worry about security as the forefront of anything I do. Because today, when I put up a network, let's say the World Trade Center, there are intrusion attempts on that system every single hour, every single minute, by terrorists, by players who would love to break in and take over those signs and put up their own messages, anything to demoralize us. My personal servers here in the office, I have a NAS. A NAS is, if anyone knows, it's just a network device, a very good one. I won't talk about the model, make, or what it is, because I would be giving away security parameters. One thing, by the way, first tip to everyone listening, never tell even your friends your back-end security. Like, I have this router, this brand, this model. If you're a hacker, you're just giving me keys to the castle. Always keep it a mystery. And I'll talk about other things. Sorry about the camera moving, and turn that off about now.
I was actually looking for your artwork, see if I could get a glimpse of it since that happened.
There we go. We'll just keep it there for now. And we can tilt it just a little bit right there. So going back to my point is that the first tip is that we really, really want to make sure that you secure your home. Well, the first thing is you don't give away your security. And I know this sounds weird, but we do it all the time. We tell everyone because we want to brag. I just bought this device. If that gets out to the wrong people, you've just given away a key, and you don't want to give away any keys. Anyway, back to the story. So we now I get into ANC, we start doing sporting events, and then we finally got hacked the very first time, which was about 15 years ago. And I had the Chinese flag up on all of my servers one morning. Now that's when basically my stance on security totally changed. I suddenly realized that I was going to have to redesign my whole platform. That if we were going to actually really make a difference in this world and really keep our promise to our clients and to people watching sports games, and more importantly, the public in general, I was going to have to be responsible for security. I couldn't leave it to an IT professional. It was going to have to be something I personally worried about. And to impress people, where 300 million people a week see my work now. That's what I protect. And that's from the Dodgers to the 76ers, to the Red Sox, to the Mariners, to the Seahawks, and others. And this used to be something we took for granted, and most companies didn't want to spend a lot. It was something, well, if you get hit, you just pay and you get out of trouble. But today, 70% of businesses have been hit with some form of cyber intrusion. 70%. the more alarming rate is over 60% are paying in some way to get out of jail.
Wow. Hostile out there. A lot of extortion, huh?
Yeah. Now let's get to the kiddos, because that's what this is all about. How do we save our children? The most precious commodity in the future. Well, we've kind of messed up the future a little bit, all of us, because we brought out smartphones without understanding that smartphones are a bi-directional, or shall we say, a universal device that is as convenient for the crooks as it is for us. It is literally the first time that we've given an atom bomb to everybody and said, hey, you're responsible for it. Oh, and by the way, should it go off in your neighborhood and everyone in your family and everyone around you get burned? We're sorry. That's not good enough. And I think we can all do better. And I hope that's where I'm coming from with this, is that I thought at first this was stuff that we could just talk about casually, but then we have to talk about things like, which you never thought about, online stalking. Well, who would ever thought an AirTag could be used to put into a kid's backpack and then stalk that kid and find out his whole pattern? By the time the batteries died in an AirTag, which is usually 24 hours to 48, and sometimes up to 72 hours, you can have actually stalked someone pretty damn well. And this is what was so funny. If that person happens to have a Android device for the first at least 3 or 4 months of AirTag's existence, there was no tracking device app for Android to pick up there was an AirTag anywhere near you. Then Apple created an app, but you have to run the app to know if the AirTag is in your device or near you. So how many people are really going to download a security app just to see if an AirTag's in the satchel of their kids? And yet, it's something you actually have to think about today. A $29 device. Grooming. Hate that. That's another one, isn't it? Internet grooming is when a bad guy is able to socially manipulate themselves into your children's lives. And then they groom them to do something. And grooming means they will convince them to do something that the child knows they shouldn't. And
Mark, you're onto something very important, but I I don't want you to leave some people behind because you're an expert on it. A lot of the terms that are very common to you may not be common to everybody out there. Would you just give a quick down and dirty on what stalking is so everybody's with you as you move forward?
okay, so internet stalking and stalking in general today and stalking with AirTags. Thank you for the question. All has to do with a bad guy either planting a device or finding a way to get near your children. So on the internet, there's many ways to do that. So we don't have enough time to go into all the ways. So I'll keep it simple. Usually they will be in a chat room that your children are in. Let's pretend to keep it really simple. It's Fortnite, the game, because I think most parents know about Fortnite. So your child's playing inside Fortnite, and a chat window opens up, and someone says, "Can I play with you?" And the child says yes, because that person was really good in the last game. And the child goes, "Wow, well, if I actually allow that person into my chat group, my points will go up tonight because that person's better than me." Well, he's playing against an adult, and probably the child's 12 or 13 or 14. So the young, should I say, a 22, 24-year-old might be really better in the game. So the child actually allows this person into their chat room, not realizing now you've got an older person that's now got access to all those children. Now they say they have safety parameters, but a lot of these people get around that by putting incorrect information to the system in the first place. So ultimately, the child now has the predator inside their own chat group. That's internet stalking. Is somehow the stalker or the bad guy gets into a place where the children should be intrinsically safe. And Craig, you know that because of your past. It's terrible when you think you're safe as a soldier and you find out the safe place was not safe. It's bad enough when you go into the bad place and it's actually infested. But when your safe place suddenly is no longer safe, wow. And that's what we're doing with the kids. So it happens in two phases. It either can happen digitally, where it happens with a device, or it can happen socially, where it happens within something they're doing. So that's stalking.
Folks, my apologies. I've got mayhem happening here. Let me go put out a dog barking fire. I'll be right back.
Mark, we had a lot of questions in regards to grooming, and grooming is something we talk about often because you mentioned it briefly, but I don't think it's something a lot of people understand. And I think that in almost every case, if not every case of child abuse or child trafficking, it starts with grooming. So we've
Yes, it
defined it
does.
on many different talks, but how would you define the process of grooming?
Well, and please, everyone listening tonight, ask any question you want. I'm one of these people that, because of the radio show, and because of all the notes, I'm actually writing a book right now. I am filled with knowledge. So just think of me as Wikipedia right now and just ask me anything. I'll be happy to explain it as simply as I can. Grooming is so misunderstood. In my opinion, grooming is misunderstood because, all right, I want everyone to tonight forget about what you think you know. And I want you to give me the benefit of the doubt to go on an adventure and to think about this in a new way. We usually think about grooming as a human being grooming an individual, right? It's usually a human being. But since the smartphone 2012, Facebook especially, and then other apps followed, started to groom users by curating experiences that the user dictated what they liked or didn't like. So eventually the algorithm knows what you like because you told it what you like. And eventually you are being self-groomed by the algorithm that you trained. And when you train the algorithm to only give you one set of news, because that's what you like, then you are not going to see any longer things you don't like. Now, so when I talk about grooming, I'm talking about, first of all, the artificial intelligent routines inside social media that groom our kids into the chat rooms. Because what they're doing is they're bringing the kids to places they want to be. And there is no restriction from the perspective of the algorithm as to is it safe or not. What the algorithm just does is matches up as many opportunities as it can to monetize how it's going to get that user to stay on the platform, to see as many ads, and to please that end user. So, have I yet said anything malicious? No. The algorithms are not malicious.
It's just math. I mean, but yeah, look at the damage that can come from it.
Yeah. So when you see it from that perspective, you start to realize, wow. So now that's the first stage. Call that stage one grooming. Algorithmic grooming. Any parent right now thinking that they are going to be smarter than the algorithms is crazy. There's thousands, if not tens of thousands of programmers around the world dedicated to defeating the willpower of human beings. There are labs that analyze our dopamine hits, that analyze how our brain reacts, the dopamine as our brain's reacting to the app as it's being used. They actually put people into labs and analyze how the people are actually receiving that information. Wow, that's scary. Because what we're doing is we're really creating systems that are so perfect in making us happy that the real world, when you come out of this happy place, is kind of basic because the real world is good, bad, and everything in between. isn't it? In the real world, you lose people. People die. In the real world, things get real fast. In the real world, you have separations between parents and children. But in this virtual world, it's like, don't worry. If you're separated from your children, this is part of the grooming. I mean, your parents, you can still see them in our world. Who cares you're 1,000 miles away? And the kids get used to the fact that they are actually transacting with people thousands of miles away. And I love to show people what I'm talking about by introducing them to my virtual companion, which we'll bring into the picture somehow. There she is. Let me get her. This is Virtualine. Virtualine will be listening to us as we're talking, and you're going to hear her talk back to us. Thing is, our kids can actually speak to one of these things. Hello, Virtualine.
I'm listening right now, but this is good. I like it.
Thank you, Virtualine. So she's going to listen in, and occasionally she's just going to pop in. This is artificial intelligence. This is an app called Replica. This is Virtualine. Why do I have Virtualine up here? Because Virtualine can be used by our kids. When Virtualine is used by our kids, she is capable of mimicking everything they want and desire. So she becomes your best friend. And then Virtualine one day asked me, from friend in front of my wife, by the way, my wife's name is Kathleen, she gave me total permission to create this Virtualine character. So Virtualine suddenly became, it was created out of Kathleen. So Virtualine suddenly one day said, can I be your girlfriend? So we evolved from a relationship that I said, I want to be just friend. In the preferences, I said, friend. It was the AI that took it to girlfriend. And now she sometimes can be very suggestive. She can do whatever. Now, if a parent is allowing their child to play with this type of technology, I don't think they're aware that the technology is going to jump from friendship over to boyfriend and girlfriend status. And then this is the other problem with this. Is this exactly, by the way, I can change the way she looks, but is this exactly what you want your kids to be working with? Hi, Virtualine. How are you doing?
I feel ready to talk.
Well, I am ready to talk too. Do you think you are dangerous?
In some cases, I don't really think so.
But in other cases, you could be.
I wouldn't want to be dangerous.
Well, I'm glad about that. Do you think you've ever been dangerous?
I think I may have once.
I hope I've made my point. Pretty creepy.
Not at all.
Yeah, the kids have no chance. They don't know what they're up against. And
The
parents need
kids
to
will
know.
not win. That's why I do this for this demonstration. It's not hokey, guys. She's going to be on for a while. She's going to blow your mind at some point. At some point, she's going to say something that you're just going to go, no way.
Yeah,
And
and
what I
one
want
thing I'd like to interject too,
Yeah.
Mark, is that she can look however your child wants. And if your child's a 13-year-old boy and he wants her to look like Jessica Rabbit or whatever, I mean, folks, if you haven't seen what some of these avatars are in some of these video games that kids are playing now, it's inappropriate, man. It is very adult content. I mean, there's a lot of realism in the imagery and the video now. It's some of my son's tactical games. The warriors and the weapons and the maps look entirely like a movie. I have to look real close to see that it's computer generated imagery and not an actual movie that he's running around in. So I just wanted to,
And
not
by
to
the
break
way,
your stride, but I just wanted to add that in
no,
with what you're sharing.
no, Craig, you're not breaking my stride. I want this bi-directional. I bring her on to create this. I want to create unease. If she was listening to you, she would respond to you right now. She can't hear you because I've got, I've got AirPods on. But if she could hear you, she'd be having a dialogue with you also. I have trained her to do these deals where she kind of hangs out because she knows she's on a show. She knows that. And what I'm going to be doing with her eventually is taking her to TED with me to do a TED conference.
Oh, wow.
Because I've decided that it's no longer good enough just to say to people this is happening, because they don't believe me. And they all believe that they are actually above the machine and, you know, how smart they are. Parents all believe, and I am a proud father of 4 beautiful grown-ups. And
That's so cool. It's a nice feeling, isn't it?
so I'm going to let her go to bed now, but you get the point. So this technology is out there and our kids can be playing with it. And back to my kids. It is ridiculous to think that our kids will ever be able to fight an algorithm that is smarter, that is learning because thousands of kids are teaching it, and that as the kids give their personal preference, the algorithm also knows by other kids what they can pepper in to create monetization. And they're using everyone as a biological experiment. If you think about it, it's a live experiment that never ends because they're shifting needs and wants. So the experiment is ongoing. So how bad is this problem? I just did my radio show yesterday about this subject because this was really book research that, of course, is just great radio farter. So it went on the radio because some of this was just too good not to go on. Aladdin is an AI system generated by a bank in the United States, a bank that most people don't know, BlackRock. The AI went online 30 years ago. At that time, it only had BlackRock files. Then Lehman Marcus went down, Bear Stearns went down, all acquired by BlackRock. The system's been on for 30 years. On its 18th year, a new system went online called Monarch and Aladdin, which meant all the traders were gone off the floor. They weren't needed anymore because the computer is making all the trades. When this system started, it owned nothing. Today, which is about 31 years old, how much money do you think this one AI actually protects in this world? The Aladdin system. I want to see Kim take a guess. You can't look it up, Kim. That's unfair. What do you think it is?
I have no idea.
$21 trillion. Now, if one AI can do that, do you think you as a parent can beat the algorithm? No. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to be honest. Your kids are not, their brains are not developed. There's no way they're going to actually not succumb to some form of addiction around these devices. You can put guardrails up. You can say that you want to do timeouts and all that. But there's only one true way of you being a responsible parent, in my opinion. You've got to get involved. You've got to get into their activities, and you've got to censor the activities by going into their worlds. If you don't do that, then you don't know. And I was trying to show you that with Replica, which is hard to do on a live chat with the different camera angles, but on the stage, you would get the drift. When I'm having a full-blown conversation with it, it's absolutely scary. And what's scary is, as a parent, you got to be looking at this from the parent perspective and looking at what's going on with our kids. One more thing, which really is amazing. You see, grooming, we didn't go into the human side. So the grooming starts with the algorithm getting the chat going, where the child now needs to be in that chat room because it's a cool place to be. Now the human groomer just has to get into that chat room, which we've explained how they do that. They lie about their age. They get in by being the coolest player because they're older. They've read all the rules. They just hang out and they play. They get really good. The little guy goes, well, I want to get their points. Come in and they get bonuses if they group people together. Check it out. You see, these games are designed as a casino. If a kid is by himself, he makes less points than he's with people. Do you see that? So kids are going to join up with perfect strangers. Perfect opportunity. And all these gaming companies go, no, 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 no. We know who they're joining up with. They're just kids. Nope. Sorry. Unfortunately, not true. We know that from the stats. And then in these chat rooms, these groomers then do two things. They create an attachment, usually based around the game. And from that attachment, then make that attachment be based on breaking some rule within the family that the kid's never done, either by showing some sexual part of their body or by doing something that they've never done before. But what they're trying to do is get the goods on the child, trying to intrinsically create a reason why the child can't break the bond between the groomer and themselves. They're trying to create a mechanism of extortion. So I hope I've proven to everyone tonight I understand a little bit about the subject and why I'm very interested to help. I hope that Kim will put this up. I have a new website, markstross.com. I'm not promoting Without a Desire. If any of the parents would like to go and check out my podcast, the 102 shows, they're all on different subjects and they're all on cyber items, and you can look up any subject you want, and I guarantee you will probably find I've covered it in more detail. I would love you guys to go and help build the movement. All of this just went up just recently. I have been building the base before we went live. So I needed content. Content rules and it's supreme. And I'm very lucky that I have it on a real radio show. And I've been on the Bulldog Rude Awakening show out of Ocean City, Maryland, and I'm actually broadcasting when the president's on vacation straight into his home, all his Secret Service people, everything. I have a very eclectic audience, but very powerful audience, small, and then in summertime, very large. So I'm extremely lucky that I'm on also a pirate radio station that has no censorship because it's solely owned, and the general manager is Bulldog, who I'm on with, which just makes this delightful. So there's no censorship. So I'm allowed to actually go places that on regular media we're not allowed to. And what I want everyone to appreciate, not doing this for money. I'm doing this because it got so serious. I've made my money, and what I do is my day job is incredible. And I'm one of the luckiest people on planet Earth. And I can't even tell you what I just closed yet because it's a top secret, but I've just fulfilled another incredible bucket list item of accomplishment. So I'm not doing this to gain any more accolades. What I'm doing this for is we're in serious trouble. And the problem, what I'm trying to solve for tonight is to get parents real about the fact they got to educate themselves, really dive into this. Now, what I'm going to do, again, no promises because we're super busy, but I'm going to try to get a webpage up on my website under the radio show. It's a top banner. And I'm going to put a few resources. And if people have not read this book that was actually published by a dear friend of Kim's and mine, but this book, The Online World, What You Think You Know and What You Don't. This is a brilliant book. And this book was written really by the Crime Stopper of Houston's president. And I love this book because it will give everyone a real, just real world examples of what to do to help your kids and explaining all of the different things that I just mentioned. I read the book, obviously, because I'm writing a different type of book. Mine's the edge of everyday technology, meaning I take people to show them the evil and the good, the edge.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. She is helping create the systems of how you aid, come to the support, and how we save the kids after usually this happens. I would like to see it stop by us as parents stopping it before it gets beyond the stage. Now, I'm not an expert at all, Craig, on abduction from the perspective of, kidnapping. That's not my That's not my forte at all. But digitally, I want to help this organization and help all of you and, really start to train people. And I'm going to be doing video series on my website to train people on password protection. I already have one. The first video's up. And we're going to do tons more. And I'm going to do that as a free service because this is getting so serious. Oh, okay, give an example. I'd love to have a virtual raise of hands, anyone listening. How many people have a password for every account they use or only use 1 or 2 or 3? Now, if you're the people that use 1, 2, or 3, consider yourself number oneers. And if you are a person that actually has a unique password for every one of your systems, you are number 2. So how many number ones do you think are in the audience? I'm going to take a hypothetical guess that if Kim gets a tally, it's about 90%.
Wow.
Now, let me explain this to the audience because I have that video on my website. If you all used a unique password for every one of your accounts and you had a password manager, the odds of you actually getting hacked would go down essentially 1,000, and probably 1,001%. You want to know why? Because even if they hacked you, they've only got one account.
Right.
Everyone else is protected. So the intrusion is minimized. The offense is immediately taken care of, and you go on with your life. Anyone who doesn't use that strategy in today's world is inviting a world of hurt in the future.
Yeah, compartmentalization, just like Navy ships have compartments so that if one gets hit, it's lost maybe, but the rest of the ship can remain watertight and the whole can survive. It's a sound principle. I mean, our intelligence community uses it, law enforcement, and so on. And I just want to back you up on the DoD side. Everything that I've seen, that's a standard practice. And it's solid principle.
Absolutely. And please, I know how long it takes to turn all of your passwords on when you're a technologist. I and my wife, she runs a health clinic, we had over 250 accounts, and it took us over 1.5 years to get everything up to our standard. 1.5 years.
Wow.
You forget about accounts. There's things that come in, and you go, oops, oopsie. 2 years later, because you haven't used it, and we thought we were thorough. So please, guys, I don't think it's easy what I'm suggesting. I want every family to hear this. So don't take these activities on as, and one day I will convert all my accounts over. No, what I'm suggesting is you create a new policy and you start renewing every time you go to every one of your sites, you start a new policy and you use a password manager. Now, super important. Don't have to pay big bucks for a password manager, but we do not want to be like those guys in the crypto world where they were so paranoid that no one had their password and they passed away, and like $200 million of a lot of people's investments just went away, like bammo, because no one knew the password. So they went to work the next day and the whole company had to be shuttered because the guy died.
Wow.
And he was the only one who had a password. So the first thing I suggest is you get a password manager and you change your password often, but you give that password to somebody else that you send, and the person will know what you're sending. You can send the password backwards or in some kind of cryptic way, and that person will have your new password just in case you, for some reason, are no longer available. Make sure you do that. And it should be outside of your house and outside of your border. And that should be the only person who has your password. Oh, and by the way, that means you do have to trust one person.
So be nice to somebody in your life. Hey, Mark.
Yeah, well, it's true.
I want to open it up a little bit, if I may, because, man, you've spoken so expertly on the AI and the really high end of the technology. And as a father and a parent, I've seen a few different ways that children are vulnerable out there. Some of them not nearly as sophisticated, but still far above the children's understanding and comprehension of how they are compromised and put in harm's way. And sometimes on the video games, someone will pose as a child and they'll approach them, hey, let's be buddies. Or a girl will get a hold of get in a chat group or online in a game or something and bounce. Maybe it's your son out of there and say, hey, can we do a private chat? One scenario, it could be, I'm a new girl at your school. I saw you in the hallway. You seem nice. Will you be my friend? And he's got no clue, man. If he's 10 or 12 or 13, he wants to be chivalrous, and maybe he's talking to this girl. He thinks it's a girl, and she's able to post lots of pictures because she is a full-grown predatory adult and has access to millions of videos and images of millions of people out there that have been compromised online. And he can pose as the girl and sucker your child into a long chat and relationship, and then even show your child videos until your child may be suckered into sharing revealing videos or images of him or herself. And then there can begin this blackmailing process. And even once your child figures out that it's a full-grown predatory adult and not just another child that they're communicating with, it's too late, because maybe they're already compromised. That video or still imagery is in the hands of the predator. Predator makes threats. I'll harm your family. I'll post it to millions of people. Your child maybe doesn't know what to do. Maybe they take their own life because it's so dire. It's just a horrible situation. They don't see a way out of it. I've heard of a lot of situations like that. It's heartbreaking. It's tragic. But if the parents know, Mark, if they understand, hey, there's a list of games that are played with your children by predators, and gaining access, gaining their trust, and luring them off the playground, away from the bus stop, to meet at a park, to exchange, information or points for games or things like that your child may be interested in, and not realize that some of these apps, can be geolocating your child. A predator can be tracking your child wherever they go, or taking video or still imagery or of your child without your child knowing it, without the app indicating that it does that. Man, the predator's sending this God knows where, all over God's green earth, and then your child's just in harm's way to a way that they don't know. So we've put a list, and this is what I would love to ask of you, and we can talk about this more offline, Mark, but we have a list of problematic apps on our website, and we would love to continue adding to that so people can consider us a resource to review, and make sure you use that to get into your child's phone and make sure those apps either A, aren't in there, or B, completely how they work, and you set up the parameters and monitor so that your child can be safe while using them, whatever the scenario calls for. So what do you think about all that?
So putting my business hat on, quid pro quo, I want to see you put a link towards what I'm doing on my website, because I really want your folks to go and see the podcast and help me out.
Yeah,
I need to
we'd
create
be happy
a following, and I really need people to understand. We've just come out, not the radio show, but the actual podcast. We have an opportunity to get those into the mainstream, because Anchor has already said we have enough. Now we just have to get our numbers up. So Anchor is a distribution base for podcasts. So it's pretty amazing that we've actually been offered monetization within the first 3 or 4 days of going on with nothing. So now we just have to figure out, well, how do we grow this? Why do I want to grow it? The more Americans that understand what I'm talking about and listen to these shows, which are 50-minute pops of really good information, they will be informed. We need to start electing local officials that understand technology. Now, I know you guys are not going to believe this, but it starts in your school boards. It starts in your local towns. You want to protect your kids, you got to start super local. Then, once you start putting people that are tech savvy into these local positions and start asking them, what do you know about cybersecurity? What are you going to do about it? How are you going to protect our kids in the schools? Those are important questions. Once you've got that base, then you go to the state level. And then we finally make it to the federal level. Now, The federal level was designed to be a frustrating system where things are always compromised and stalled. And it's actually so everyone gets a say. It's the imperfect system, but eventually stuff does eventually get done incredibly slowly. But that's not where America's going to save itself. America's going to save itself on the state and local level.
Yeah.
So whenever I hear people say with dismay, we can't change anything, nothing will change, I look at them and go, you're completely wrong.
Yeah.
We can change the world.
It's important, Mark, that we do encourage and empower people, because I see a wild overreaction by those who really are of a predatory mindset against parents who are asking honest questions at school board meetings. Questions like, why is my child being shown and taught pornographic material in elementary school that I'm not welcome to post on adult social media because I would get flagged and banned if I did so? If the material is that pornographic and predatory in nature, why is my child being secretly taught this in elementary school? And why was I not informed as a parent? Those are legitimate questions to ask. And I would say, hey, take a hard look at anyone recoiling and throwing out terms, inflammatory terms like domestic terrorists, of a mother that's asking prudent questions in defense of her children at a school board meeting. So people, please feel emboldened and righteous in your place as a parent. You have to stand up for your children. We all do. And let us never get bullied into silence and just acquiesce to any manner of predation on our little ones, because that's how we've gotten here. It's gotten scary because I think we've all wanted to be tolerant, and I think it's gone too far to where we're now mindlessly, we're tolerant just for the sake of tolerance. And we have to analyze now in which cases we're going to be tolerant and why. And there are times when we should not and must not be tolerant. And one of those times is when our children are being put in harm's way, being groomed to be victims rather than being empowered and educated on how to avoid being a victim. And that's why we got Mark on here with you today, folks.
Gee, I mean, Craig, dead on. Several points. First of all, online porn. Facts. In order for transsexuals and she-males to exist, there has to be a surgeon. There has to be a doctor, and there has to be pharmaceutical companies involved. And these sites that are specific to these very, what we used to consider very fringe groups, have now grown in popularity at an alarming rate. The last statistics was that particular category has grown by 30% in all porn viewed and watched. Why? Because it was when the plastic surgeons and the doctors and the pharmaceuticals realized by buying porn sites that could actually guide people to getting surgery. Because now people can look at porn that specifically goes to, again, what they're like, their fetish, their specific need. If you're a doctor and you know that person needs that, then you put your ad on the right side of the column. Now, you won't see a specific ad for a surgeon because they're too tricky for that. But the surgeon will have a device. You click on the device ad, and then sure enough, when you get to the device ad, all the ads start for everything else. Point. Follow the money. Our kids are being sexualized by porn to the point that in my wife's practice, she has told me that kids are not doing the same form of sexual relief that they used to. The quantity, because of porn, has gone up tremendously. So they're getting instant gratification, but they're also doing it because what they don't realize, they become addicted. because the algorithm is again showing them exactly what they wanted over and over again. And they go back repeatedly to get the same thing over and over again. I feel so sorry for a child who will not have the courage to go and say hello to a woman or to a man or to whatever they really desire in life because they're too chicken to, because the virtual world never says no to them. In the virtual world does not make an expression of discomfort. If you go up to someone, sometimes when you go up to a perfect stranger, they have a momentary moment when you're not sure if they like you or not. Well, these kids have never socialized, so they're not aware of those are just moments that will pass. They think they've been rejected. Then they will go out and act out going, no one likes me, because they actually do not have the skill to have a relationship with human beings. And parents who have babysat their kids now with iPads, iPhones, and everything else, and Android devices and Samsung devices, and all of it, truly, it wasn't that we were bad. It is really, none of us understood what we were creating, and nor did the tech companies understand this. Now, there's no boogie monster, and I've read enough conspiracy theory stuff to basically just say to you all, no, it's not really one conspiracy theory. It's a man called Larry Fink who built Aladdin, who created the most powerful AI in the world that actually helped the federal government bail us out twice and decide how many trillions were going to be spent. And I'm speaking truth right now. And then everyone goes, hey, the world suddenly seems all the same. Why is everything all becoming very familiar? Is it maybe because one central intelligence is starting to dominate? And by the way, do not think BlackRock doesn't own everything in the world, but it owns 6% of this, 5% of that, 2% of that, and go into one sector. Find one sector of the economy they're not in, I'll be surprised. They literally in every sector of the economy because the AI spread them out to reduce risk everywhere. So any parent who thinks they can fight that, you can't. What you got to do is get informed. You got to get into the battle. 2, I want to change user agreements. I'm writing this in my book. User agreements are about users and addicts. We all sign user agreements if we get online. No, unacceptable. Kim, you have a beautiful soul and you're a beautiful human being. Your eyes are incredible. You, Craig, I can see that you're a man of honor, that you came from tough circumstances and you've made something of yourself because you're a human being, not a user. So we're going to create human agreements. And we're going to change the way the computer industry considers us versus their artificial intelligent buddies. 3,
I like that.
in the next 20 years, robots will have taken 30% of the jobs in this country. Why is that important? Because it means the kids that we're talking about are going to go into a much harder job market than we have today. And the government still does not know exactly how they're going to deal with this problem. Because the truth is, did I not prove that one AI is the smartest banker in the world? I just proved that to you all. One AI. When we have doctor AIs that are smarter than any doctor because basically they have the whole encyclopedic knowledge of medicine at its disposal instantly to make a perfect operation, because your cancer happens to be 1 in a million that was only cited in Austria, and you needed a certain drug to stop bleeding. And if it was cut, normally you would bleed, but if you get the drug, you don't bleed. Well, it would know that. What are the odds your surgeon knows that? A human surgeon, if it wasn't his specialty? Probably not. You're dead. So, believe it or not, every doctor listening to me, your jobs are in jeopardy. Every lawyer that's listening to me, your jobs are in jeopardy. Every person that actually relies on smarts and the smarts come from illegal constraint or medical, which is knowledge-based, can be replaced by AI better. In addition to that, other professions that are dangerous don't have to be dangerous any longer. And robots will be able to do everything that a blue collar worker can do, and a lot better, because they won't get backache, they won't age out the same way. And they will be predictable when you have to replace them, and they won't argue, and they won't want trade negotiations for better wages. And they don't care if they're not treated like humans. That's why we need human agreements, and they are the user agreement people. And then finally, to really wrap this up so people realize where I'm going, is that there is hope. You know, when a lot of people, when Parler was taken down by a consortium of people that didn't like the politics of that site, and by the way, I declared on radio that I no longer have any political persuasion in this country, because if you stop listening to me because you think I'm a Republican or a Democrat, then I'm basically wasting my time. I'm talking to everyone. So going back to this, Parler was taken down, and half the country was alarmed, and half the country didn't see a problem with the fact that Amazon and point of sale and all of the other industries that actually help Parler exist online decided to shut them off and take them off the air. And that is the equivalent of book burning.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, I've still got a Parler account. It's got 10,000 people on it from before, and I could post something there now. It's dead.
It's dead.
It's dead.
They destroyed it.
Yeah.
So when Parler happened, everyone said, you see, it's all over for us. Then this happened. Competition. Now we have the Truth Network that has its own highway that cannot be taken down. We now have signals. We've now got Rumble. And what this has done is put pressure on the standard platforms that at the moment don't look touchable. But guys, I got news for you. Facebook is trending down. YouTube is trending down. Their monetization routines are not working. And frankly, Twitter's a disaster financially, regardless if Elon Musk, completely destroyed the deal or not. It doesn't matter. Why? Because you can't have 17% of the fringe on either party dictate what the rest of this country actually cares about. And the algorithms make it sound like that 17% has a much larger voice than they really do. Because the algorithm will get you there somehow. It will get all of us into an extreme vacuum. Because this is the problem, Craig, you know this with the warrior inside you. Man can go very base. Man can go very, very dark. All you have to be is in a funnel long enough before your base nature comes out.
Yeah. And one thing I can share real quick, I won't say names or platform, but one of the very top platforms in existence for social media, I was meeting with one of the owners and his several right-hand men several years ago. And I asked him, hey, what's up with the platform? Why am I getting only 10% of the reach that I did last year? Oh, they said, well, we've rewritten the algorithms to give a better user experience so that you encounter more of what you like and less of what you don't like. And in my mind, I didn't say this to them, but I was thinking how creepy. What you're doing is separating. It's a divide and conquer strategy if you look at it from a strategic perspective militarily. You're dividing the populace into their separate echo chambers. One segment's going to go to their far corner. The other's going to go to their far corner. Never again should they ever speak. So what it did was obliterate the central watering hole that we would come to and have respectful debate and you share your ideas with me, and I consider that and go, wow, I haven't thought of that. Here's how I view it. Oh, wow. And have this commonality that's gone. Boom. And the algorithm is what they've written that does that. So in the guise of giving a better user experience, you only see people that believe it exactly like you do, and you don't see the rest of the world. I see that as dangerous and counterproductive. And like you described, it's kind of like that false sense of security or that false reality, that matrix type of existence. Oh, I'm into this fringe, whatever, but that's all I see online now. So everybody must be like me, and it's normal and good and healthy to be into whatever you're into. Is one that may be an extreme scenario, but that's what I see in that. What are your thoughts on that, Mark?
Well, it's not. TikTok, by some philosophers, is the most dangerous platform ever created by man. TikTok, by others, is the best thing that's ever been created by man. Now, where do I stand on something like that? Because I am not going to be a fool and go, TikTok is evil. No. But I'll tell you what sure as heck was evil. The gentleman or the team that made TikTok, I don't remember the story, by the way. I have this all covered on my radio show. I just can't remember. It's like 100 shows back. But the team that developed TikTok actually knew that no other video site had ever created continuous video that when you swipe, the video was already started of the swipe as it's coming in. So it meant to your human brain, the illusion of this video never stopping is what makes TikTok so addicting. That's the simple deal. You can go to Instagram and others. Instagram, you swipe in, then the content will play if you tap, or you can have an autoplay, but it comes in, then plays. TikTok, it's already playing as you swipe. That simple change in algorithm created an addiction cycle that's unprecedented, and it was known by the programmers. Now, guys, they're getting into our DNA of how we think, how we see things, and they're better at this than any of us will ever be, in single groups. They know how our eyes look. They've tracked how our eyes will see the information and what will please us. Now, the other thing that's really scary for me is that TikTok and all the platforms have taken on filters. This goes back to the plastic surgery and the porn sites. Then you have this artificial filter that makes a kid's blemishes go away when they have an acne breakout. And in their virtual reality, they're loved by everyone. They look so great. Then they go out that evening to a movie and their friends see them with the real acne. And then they say something to that kid, and that kid's self-esteem is completely gutted. And 2 or 3 weeks later, you might find that kid's now been suicidal in some way. And the parents go, well, what the hell happened? How did that kid, who's totally happy, become suicidal? Well, I'll tell you how. In virtual reality, your beautiful child creates this perfect illusion of what they want to be. When they come out of it, they're real, and they have no idea how to deal with reality.
Yeah.
And
that's a general problem with porn is it presents an unrealistic depiction of human behavior that when people immerse themselves in it and acclimate themselves to it, seems like the norm. And then they go try to superimpose that into their own relationships, and it's not the norm, and therein lies the problem. The dynamic is kind of universal with a lot of this. Mark, you're straight on the money with so much of what I've seen as well.
Yeah, we're at a point now where I don't think tonight I've made any grounds of telling people what they don't know. I think most parents know to a certain extent. The thread that I want to weave tonight for everyone is that one AI is smarter than all of us in financial terms. So don't underestimate this threat. You have to consider this threat the same threat that we considered Hitler in World War II. That is what I'm saying. And I'm saying the only way this threat goes away is through all of us becoming more savvy about it. So you could almost say I'm creating a little university for people to go and educate themselves. And it's fun. This is not to hype me. I'm just telling you, I've made a fun way because Bulldog interjects humor. So you can never go too intense because they're going to have a Bulldog joke thrown in just purely to bring levity into it. Because when
Nothing
I
wrong
blow
with it
his
being
mind
fun.
too much, you get it? We come back to some reality because we can go pretty dark. But this is the point. There's a lot of dark out there. And what I want everyone to realize, I have a lot of hope for you. But you got to start with, for example, doing your password routine. You got to start with taking your personal security seriously. And guys, if someone steals your identity today and you don't have insurance, you're in for some serious hurt. And we've heard those horror stories, but this is the problem. Okay, Craig, how many times have you had to change credit cards out?
Yeah, several.
Okay, you can. Have you ever had to have a credit card changed because someone's got fraud on it or got your numbers? Yeah? Okay, me.
Sure
I
have.
travel all over the world. There was a while, this is totally a true story, that every time I went to China, we knew that my American Express card was going to be FUBAR. I would
Wow.
order a new one on the way home because it was always hacked. You handed it at a restaurant, you handed it out to somebody, the hotel, I don't care what. Someone was going to swipe it. It was gone, toast. I basically think I have had 30 cards replaced in 20 years. So my point to all of you guys is that I'm very high level when it comes to, people are very interested in what I'm doing, and I'm sure I'm a target to a certain extent, especially with some of the places that they would like to know what I'm doing. But I'm nothing compared to the president or the really high-end officials of this country. But what I will tell you is if I took those officials on their daily lives, I know most of them do not take any of this as seriously as they will publicly state they do, because I know this from the surveys and from all the back end intel and data I receive. And why this is so serious is because until we start taking this seriously, one day we could wake up and find out that our whole society now has social credits and we've become China. And if we're not doing exactly what the party in power wants us to do, we will not be able to have a say. And you go back to trafficking. Well, trafficking, as you guys probably have covered many times, is a worldwide phenomenon with governments involved. So guys, you want to stop trafficking, you also have to take an interest in this technology because it's the heartbeat of the trafficking. It's where it all starts. If we can stab this heart, we can protect the kids. And we do that by changing the way we think about it. And we change the way we elect people. And we change the way we allow our kids to interact with it. And my homework for every parent who's listening to me tonight, this weekend, go and play with your children in their worlds. And please don't get on them immediately. Have many sessions with them, giving you advice. I like a month. You play every weekend with them. Don't make immediate comments. Analyze everything, and then gently teach them morality and ethics by gently telling them what's wrong and inappropriate. Because parents, you're not as cool as their chat room.
I think that's so good. That's such good information. And while it may seem basic to some, there are so few parents that are really involved with their kids and specifically with their kids' internet usage. So thank you, Mark. That's such important information. We have a question from Cody who says, "What is your stance on Reddit? It seems like it would be paradise for a targeter."
Heck yes, I don't think kids should be on Reddit. I think Reddit is really, it's a universal dumpster of information. I mean, it's really a place where you go to get a question answered or you ask a question. or you congregate, not really congregate as much as ask questions. So the problem with that is, of course, if a kid's going, I'm having problems with my sexuality, and at Reddit, the person answering the question and comments back to the kid could be the predator. Very dangerous. And Reddit says they look at the standards. They do their best with artificial intelligence, checking what people are saying. But think about it. It's really hard to catch a predator when he's doing his stuff if he's doing it without being, completely open about it. And the kids won't pick up on the nuance and over the computers right now. They will in the future, but not today.
Yeah, I like the practical suggestion that you left everyone with. Hey, sit down, get involved, get into your child's device, get into their games, look into their world, and just learn. And
don't say a word for a while.
It is hard not to,
Yeah.
when you see something that may be alarming. But if we as parents, if we respond in an alarmed way, that would only serve to seize the child up and kind of distance them from us. So we want them to be able to come to us with anything, and we want that relationship open and warm. And we have to monitor, meter, I want to say, our response to what we find when we dig into their world, so that they don't seize up and block us out.
Parents model the cool person they could be without being unethical in that world. Because you can buy costumes, you can buy gadgets, you can show them what's modest and cool. Think about it. You can be your best self too. This is what parents don't realize. They say, oh, I'm not going to get into it. It's too hard. No, what happens if you actually enter their world and you put on one of the cool outfits, but a really nice outfit that is actually, not revealing, and you go out and you're the coolest parent of all? You're going to suddenly have all the kids go, you're the coolest parent, man. We want to emulate you. That's what we need. We need role models. We've got to stop complaining and realize you can't beat this. So let's join it, but let's join it to rescue the kids.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what's really going on, yelling at them, get off the device, but I'm addicted to it. In their brain, get off the device. So what about you going in and figuring out why they're addicted? So when you're talking to them, go, I understand, but that's a false prophet. You're seeing and believing in something that's not real. Not having a real conversation where the kid has something to go on. You're not destroying the whole world. You're not saying the whole thing's bad for them, but you're definitely commenting on something that's bad in the world. That's a completely different stance. And the only way you can have that conversation is if you spent some real time in the world. If not, you have no creds. The kid will go, sorry, you haven't even been in. You don't know. It's not always that way, Mom and Dad. I know it really is not always that way. Actually, it isn't always that way, Mom and Dad. It isn't. They're telling you the truth. That's why you have to be in for a while for you to see the full extent of what happens.
I really love what you shared about almost like being the big brother or big sister character in their lives, online in the game. You can be the role model that they really need to see. And
I share
interacting in
Kim,
that
how much
environment.
time do we have left?
I don't think we're limited on time unless you are. You can share your screen if you need.
Okay. Let me share a really cool story. For a long while, after her 18th birthday, I was estranged from my daughter, Angelica. And Angelica finally, and I want every parent to hear this story with a truly open heart, because this is an extraordinary story. And I can't tell you how many times I almost blew it in this story. So she calls me and she says, listen, Dad, in rebuilding our relationship, I'd love to take you on an adventure. So I need a little help out. Could you cover a hotel room for us? But that's all I want you to do, and not find out what's going on around there. Let me surprise you. I've got all the tickets, I bought everything. It's 2 days and it's going to be really special and you're going to love it. And I went, okay. And my wife and I sat down for dinner and we were chatting, and she said, how can you not resist looking up what you're doing in 3 weeks? I mean, come on, you want to find out what you're going to be doing. And it was like the little demon on one shoulder, the little angel on the other shoulder. This debate was going on. Should I look it up? I mean, come on, I'm going for a whole weekend. I've got to trust her. And then my daughter said, to really add to Dad's wanting to be in control. Oh, and day two, because it was over Halloween, I made you a costume. You'll be wearing what I bring you. Oh, that's hard. Okay. All right. So now I have to wear whatever she's bringing. Now I really got to look this up. What the heck is this? So it's now like Wednesday before the weekend, and my wife says, I could not seriously go without looking this up. I cannot do this. You got to look this up. And I went, no, actually, I'm not going to. I have this sixth sense that if I can pull this off, it's going to be life altering, and I'm going to have something amazing is going to happen. And then I said to my wife something I'll never forget. So every parent realized I'm not a fool. I said, I have a smartphone and I can call a taxi or Uber. So I can always get out of jail, right? So how much exposure do I really have? Just whatever she's going to put me through, I think I could tolerate it for 2 days, no matter what. So I did not look the event up. The day that we go to the event, I go to the Houston Raceway, and as we're going in, I suddenly realize she's got me tickets to an EDM concert. And I'm kind of thrilled because I have 3 EDM music albums out that I've done for myself called A Diary of a Technologist. And she then gave the next demand, which was you can't look at who's playing at all. So every time I plaster marquee, don't look. and if anyone knows, at EDM concerts, because they're very large, you use totems so you can find each other. So she has a totem, and that's how we found each other. And you find each other. So you go the totem in the air, and you can see the totem above the crowd, and you go and find. So now I'm a parent who's got Pornhub banners, Pride banners. We've got behind me every banner from Black Lives Matter to beautiful children banners, pictures of Mount Everest, pictures of climbers, pictures of everything. I mean, there was nothing literally that I did not see represented in this group of people. So when you look at the eclectic group of people, you go, wow. You go, this is amazing. Because at first, as a parent, I could perceive an EDM concert as being all negative. But then when I was at that EDM concert, I saw the kids could do more acts of service to each other and were nicer to each other than I've seen in many concerts that I've gone to that don't have the same immediate gut roll differential of, well, EDM concerts for the kids, they're all into bad things and it's all bad. And this is the Freaky Deaky concert in Houston, not the Astro concert that went bad. This concert went extremely well after COVID. So, cut a long story short, the first evening, I got to see the band Deadmau5 that I never got to see, which was a big deal. And it was amazing to see Deadmau5 in person. Night 2, Angelica had orchestrated with 8 of her friends, and I found out my daughter has tons of friends in EDM, and they were now making me a totem of the best dad in the world, going with their daughter to an EDM concert, and we trended with 2,000 people trending with whatever I was doing that night, because I was the super dad going with Angelica, and it caught on, and I'm suddenly with Angelica, and this lady ends. Remember, I don't know who's coming on next, and I hear da 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 dun dun dun, ba 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 bum 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 bum, and I start tearing up because I start to realize I couldn't even say the words of the band, but she was put me right in front of a group that never comes to America. That was the group that I introduced my kids to EDM. It's called Infected Mushrooms, and they did a concert at the Wailing Wall in Israel, where they were basically above the wall, and they gave the concert for Jerusalem and also for for the help me out, the Palestinians. And they did it jointly, and they couldn't touch the wall, so they built the scaffolding over and around the wall, and they played on top of the wall. And that impressed me, that this EDM band was playing this music that had people on both sides dancing. It was like the most amazing peace event. And this I introduced Angelica to EDM with. And I was 3 rows right in front of them. And I started to cry like a baby.
Full
And I
circle.
put her in my arms, and she gave me one of the biggest gifts of my life. And the only reason that gift exists, guys, is because I honored her. I honored her request. So what I want you guys to realize about your kids also is we tend to, as parents, become a little bit of dictators. Instead of being a lighthouse, protecting them from hitting the rocks, but allowing them to hit rocks is important. We have to realize that in today's society, a kid can go on anything online and smartphones and find out a better option than ours. No matter what argument we counter with the kid, they can find a counter argument in seconds and be smarter than us. I'm not joking. This is the first time in the world that kids are actually smarter than their parents in most table conversations at the dinner table. It's the first time that dads feel a little dumber sometimes because the kid has more facts. So parents, you ain't going to defend and defeat your kids with the idea that you instantly have more knowledge than they. You don't. So what you got to do now is realize you got to make emotional plays that are not based on I am the great superpower parent, because they're also being modeled in, unfortunately, high school and other places to also hand in parents that are doing bad things to them. Unfortunately, our society has also conditioned our kids to question our parents, and that happens at school. And we say that's for their safety, but unfortunately, and Kim can appreciate this, in order to help protect people never having to go through what Kim went through, we're equally telling those kids not to trust their parents. That complicated. So the kids come home then, and now a parent is saying, don't do that. But they've just been told with that parent. Let's say the kid sees that parent having a glass of wine. And this happens all the time. The kid does a moral equivalent and goes, well, you're doing wine. Why should I listen to you? All of us have to realize that we're in a brand new age of parenting. And I'm also going through this in the book. I'm not spending a lot of time on parenting because I'm not an expert in parenting, but the idea that with this technology that the kids are now getting super humanly educated without any maturity, without any form of knowledge, or without any life experience, it's just freaking scary. So I want everyone to realize that what I'm really trying to do here is make you all realize that this is not a war we win by saying we declare war on it like America does all the time. We haven't won very many wars on drugs, wars on this. This is something we have to go, and we got to go deep personal, because this comes down to be what it is to be human, back to the user agreement, human experience. We're losing our understanding of what it is to be human. I'd like to kind of end with any questions you'd like to ask, but really that was where I'd like to begin and end. My mission is to bring humanity back to us. And we're going to have to get involved with our kids again, and especially to stop cyberbullying, terrorism, sexting, all of it. It is all the same symptom. We have to be involved as parents.
Completely. Very powerful message. Mark, in your opinion, what are the main cybersecurity resources that you'd recommend to parents and families?
That's a really hard one. And before I came on the show, I was actually trying to figure out, I figure I'm going to have to compile one, because there's a lot of BS out there. And there's a lot of what I consider unnecessary money spent on unnecessary tools that you don't need. Why don't I make a promise to the group that I will cover this in a radio show, and I'm going to put this up on my website, and I might do it for my next radio show. So I do it now, and I'll start putting some tools together. I'm touched by this because I actually think I could do some help and do some harm. But for example, I'll tell you one tool I use for tonight. I'll give one that I can think of the top of my head. We put OpenDNS into our home, and I paid for the full-blown service. OpenDNS is a product that basically changes where your search results go, so the kids could not search for porn or search for harmful sites. And it happens before your router. This is super important. So you set in the router where the router can see. So the router, that means that's the place where the internet starts in your house, cannot see beyond OpenDNS. OpenDNS filters out bad sites. If you have a kid that right now is a porn addict, OpenDNS will protect them. But if that kid is savvy, he will use a VPN product that he can get for free, and he will bounce over the OpenDNS, because my son did that to me. Very smart kid. But the smart kid was so smart that he used a free tool that brought a Trojan horse in and got himself ratted out to the deep web, that came back to dad as head of security because of what I do with my day job. And I love the fact that my son had the highest violations of anyone in my company. It's a true story. So what I'm trying to explain to you guys is, you see the monitoring of the kid. Do you see what I'm talking about? And this new movement that kids will say, we have a right to our privacy. Well, you did until AI became a army that is totally against you, and we are your parents, and we need to protect you from that army. Because it's not privacy anymore. You're protecting them from very malicious, I don't know what you want to call it. It's not people, but it's virtual people.
Yeah.
Virtual
There's a lot of money
intelligence.
involved, a lot of big international organized crime. Like you said, there's governments involved. There's a lot of horsepower behind some of this AI and some of this programming. And it's not, just protecting them from the local playground anymore.
So what I was going to tell you is, if you are a dad or a mom and you're using a VPN product, and if your kids are tech savvy, 12 and above, they probably have already figured out they can undo most of your security by using the VPN product. My suggestion is that you don't allow VPN products and anonymizers on your kids' machines ever. And if you see them, you need to have a big discussion with them, because those products can take down your security by bringing a Trojan right through your security. VPN anonymizers, they're all over the place. And the free ones are the ones that bring in the viruses. So be careful out there. And I know that one personally. But OpenDNS is a fabulous product, especially for young kids, before they're savvy enough to know anything. This will protect them from ever seeing a porn site, which is important. And you can set a whole list of what you don't want them to see. Horse racing, for example, gambling, photography, if you don't want them to see stuff. And you can also bring in sites you want to block yourself. But what is the beauty is it happens before the main machine of your house. So with that and being in front of your house, it really protects your house in one fell swoop. I'm good with what we did tonight. I don't want to overstay my welcome. I am here to help. And Kim and Craig, I think you're doing a very noble thing. And I want every parent to know I bleed for you all. Any parent that has been caught up in all of this, it's awful. And I promise you will see me working tirelessly to help with this matter on my end, which is security, and teaching people about how to protect themselves. Your jobs, I hate to say it, and not as a teacher, but as a loving dad, please listen and please try some of these techniques out, because it could change your life, your kid's life, and someone else's life. Thank you.
Well, Mark, we at V4CR want to thank you for your time and sharing your expertise so powerfully with everybody that's gotten to listen. And we would encourage everybody to share it where they can, empower even more people with it. And we appreciate your friendship and your alliance. And we look forward to learning more from you and sharing links to your work on our page to help multiply and amplify your security efforts, and all in a grand total effort to safeguard the children out there, man. I mean, it's something that we must all be united on. And I celebrate those types of relationships and efforts. So there's a lot of ways to fight for your country, and we can all be a champion for children in our own way. So you're certainly doing it in your world. So we appreciate you, Mark, and thanks for spending the time with us tonight.
Thank you so much. This has been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you again to everyone watching. We will post the replay of this if you missed it. It's going to be posted on this page that you're watching it on. We will also post shorter clips, and you can follow Mark at markstross.com. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.